I just pushed out the last update of the simple inventory display, and I'd like to talk about some of the changes that I've made. I had to rewrite about, I would say, half of the script because the things that I wanted to do were not possible with the old engine. One of the major changes you see here, I separated the functions of the script into passes. So now you have all these passes to set up the inventories, the oxygen and stuff, and you can see how many instructions they all take up, which, as I now understand, is the common way to monitor your scripts for complexity. I also did a lot of internal work on optimizing away the bottlenecks that existed. So the script should now run on most of your large rigs with tons of stuff. Well, let's take a look. So setup is now parsed in a completely different way. I removed all the equals true, equal false stuff. That's completely unnecessary. So I'm just going to try to simplify things. As part of the new system, besides the new settings system, another major feature I added was the display mirroring. So the way you do that is you, in the custom data, say displays. And this is completely case insensitive, but it does need the colon. And then starting from the next line, you specify your displays. So I think the panel on the right is called text panel, I think. So as you can see, the script now moves to the right. You can also put more displays. Let's see, this is called LCD panel. This is called wide LCD panel. So we go to our computer and we say LCD panel, wide LCD panel. Why by default the P is capitalized here and not capitalized here, I do not understand. And there you go. You have your content maximized to fit the screen that you picked. A part of this is that you can now change the scale for each individual screen. Let me give us a little bit more light. Let's make it morning. So when you go into custom data, you can now say that you would like the, let's say, wide LCD panel at 1. That's the scale factor. And you see that it jumped back to 1. So I added what I considered to be sensible default scale values to all screens, but you can change them, as you can see here. You can also set this to be mirrored on blocks with multiple displays, and it's called the control seat. So we're going to go into the custom data of the computer. I like to separate them by space and say control seat. And then with a slash, you give it an index. And now you have your content on your control screen. We can continue this. There you go. Your display could be on another grid. If you add a display to a different grid, then you need to know what this grid is called. Now, the display is called wide LCD panel, and the grid is called small grid 2309. So I'm just going to copy this, and then I will go into the programmable block, custom data, and say grid name slash, what is it, wide LCD panel. And so now you have it on a different grid as well. Let's add some cargo. Let's fill it with some stuff. And let's add some refineries. Let's add a lot of refineries. I put in a lot of work to make sure that SID can handle large systems. So let's do something completely stupid like this. That's a pretty insane field of refineries. So what's going on? We can see that, hey, let's bring this back. Let's get it back to its original default scale by removing the scale after the at. There we go. This is nice to look at. In the future update, I probably will add long names, and then I'll just scale everything down on the wide LCD, and it'll be a nice sort of this kind of thing, like over here, but with wide names, and it'll fit nicely here, and some people have been asking for that. So we see 48 refineries and 4 things are being processed. All right, this is not a detailed inventory display. This is a simple inventory display. So you have to then go in and look at things in more detail. Let us add a bunch of assemblers. I mean, I guess 63 should be enough. And let's start queuing stuff up. All right, and now that I queued up a bunch of stuff, you can see that some assemblers are assembling some of the stuff. Let me turn off some of the assemblers, and let me also turn off some of the refinery. All right, so here you see a complicated picture of a system. You have 63 assemblers, 57 of them are on. You have 48 refineries, 43 of them are on. Some of them are refining 3 of the ores that you have, and some of the assemblers are constructing 4 of the types of components that you can have. Let's also add some hydrogen stuff. I think you get that it's more robust than it used to be. Also, I think I want to add a bunch of these. I don't know who uses these, but why not? And of course, for that to work, we need a lot more ice. We obviously also need some hydrogen and oxygen tanks. So let me put the oxys here, and then the hydrogens here. Like we have all these tanks. And while we're at it, let's add some cargoes. All right, so this is a pretty respectable operation I got going here. Let's see how well the script is handling it. It seems to be running. Oh yeah, by the way, if you notice, right there in the bottom left corner, there's a little gray dot. That's a health dot that shows you that the system is alive. If it doesn't flash, that means something's gone wrong. So then you have reason to look in here. And let us look at our numbers. The numbers are actually pretty good for that huge system. So I think you should be all right with, you know, whatever monstrosity you come up with. You see the oxygen below, you see the hydrogen. Those appear only if you have tanks. What's really weird is that apparently you can't turn off oxygen farms. They're always on somehow. So just be aware of that. If you would like to include a container on a subgrid or on a different grid, doesn't matter which grid, you can do it like so. And then let's put some stuff in here so you can see. Let's do 1000 iron, 2000 nickel, and 3000 cobalt. And then we look at our inventory. We see that we have no iron at all. And that's because we did not include the other grid. Now, I know that the other grid is called this because here it is. So I can say this is all in the group called displays. So I can go down and say grids, colon, again, case insensitive. The command names are case insensitive, and the grid names and the block names are case sensitive. You can also enclose them in quotes if you have to for some reason. So grids, and then you say this. And now you see that there's 1K of iron and 2K of nickel because it sees the grid. If you're going to be adding a bunch of grids or a bunch of displays to show this on, a convenience that I added is if you put the grids first, this is not a super complicated parser. I mean, it's, you know, more involved than I'd like it to be, but it's not very powerful. So you can't define something afterwards like you can in C#. So you have to put it first. You can put a shortcut. So like, let's say this is going to be SG, or, you know, you could do like 1. Let's do 1. That's the shortcut. It's a string. Here, I don't have to repeat it anymore. I can just say 1. Right, you see, so it still works and it still includes the grid. If you would like to use the shortcut without including the grid in the data collection, you can say equals. Then the display is still being used, but this grid is not being taken into account when collecting data. The last thing I'm going to show is that, the boxes are now on by default. I guess people like the boxes. If you don't like the boxes, then you can say anywhere in the beginning and the end, no boxes. And you don't have boxes. Another thing you can do is, here the numbers are pretty good. But if, for some reason the complexity is getting unwieldy, the arrows take a little bit of work, to show you all the dynamics. So you can turn that off. You can say no arrows. The setup is pretty simple. And so now you don't have any arrows. Maybe you just visually don't like how the blinking arrows look and you just want to turn it off. So that's it for this update. For the next update, I plan to add the ability to show only a certain group on a display. So different groups on different displays, but like you show or on one display, components on another display, and so on. Not super detailed. This is a simple inventory display, but I already do this in my crane anyway. So I figure why not do it here? And plus I got a request for it in the comments on Steam. I think that's it for this update. Thanks for watching.